The rain on Sigma-3 was a relentless, greasy drizzle that stained the permacrete and turned the air into a chilled soup. In the shadow of the towering orbital elevators, the port district of Hive Primus festered, a maze of dripping corridors and flickering neon. Here, among the rattling ventilation units and the distant hum of starship engines, was a small repair bay owned by a man named Leo. Leo was a man of gears and gravitas, his hands perpetually etched with engine grease, his eyes the calm gray of a still lake. He fixed things: anti-grav units for cargo haulers, faulty translator nodes, the occasional prosthetic limb. His world was one of tangible problems and tangible solutions, a universe contained within the rust-streaked walls of his bay. One evening, as the dull purple glow of the planet's twin moons fought through the smog, a woman stepped into his light. She was drenched, her simple gray flight suit plastered to her slender frame, her dark hair a wet cascade. She held her left arm awkwardly against her chest, the wrist-locked terminal on her forearm spitting erratic. Angry sparks. "I was told you are discreet and skilled," she said, her voice soft but clear, carrying an accent he couldn't place. Her eyes, a startling shade of violet, held a plea that was at odds with their regal intensity. "Discreet is part of the fee," Leo said, wiping his hands on a rag. "Let's see the damage." She offered her arm. The terminal was a high-end civilian model, sleek and obviously expensive, but the housing was cracked and the energy feedback was cooking its own circuits. A nasty shock for the wearer. "Power surge?" he asked, gently probing the connection points with a sensor. "An accident with an improperly shielded conduit," she replied, watching his hands with keen interest. Leo nodded. He saw the subtle molecular bonding of the casing, a military-grade alloy disguised as civilian trim. He saw the complexity of the microcircuitry, far beyond standard comms and data. He said nothing. In the port, you learned not to see too much. He worked in silence, his tools whispering as he isolated the fried pathways, spliced new nanofilaments, and carefully resealed the housing with a custom polymer. He didn't just fix the break. He rerouted a secondary power line to prevent future surges, a small, unnecessary kindness. After an hour, he handed it back. "Good as new?" "Better, actually. The dampening array was flawed. I corrected it." She flexed her fingers, the terminal glowing with a steady, healthy light. A holographic interface sprang to life, streams of data flowing in silent, intricate patterns. Her shoulders, which had been tense with hidden pain, relaxed. "What do I owe you?" She asked. Leo quoted a fair price. She transferred the credits without a glance, but then her eyes fell on the back of his workshop. A vintage Jovian cycle engine, a beautiful mechanical relic, sat disassembled on a bench. "What is that?" "A passion project," Leo said, a faint smile touching his lips. "From when engines had pistons and made noise. It's been a puzzle. I can't get the harmonic balance right. The seals fail under resonance." She walked over, her movements suddenly fluid and assured. She studied the assembly for a full minute, her violet eyes missing nothing. "Your intake manifold is 3 degrees off true," she said quietly. "It creates a cascading vibration, and you're using a chromium seal on the tertiary valve. It's too rigid. A polymer platinum alloy, even a cheap one, would absorb the frequency." Leo stared at her, then at the engine. He fetched his micrometer. She was precisely, impossibly right. The solution was elegant, simple, and he had overlooked it for months. That would work. "I have some interest in systems," she said, the ghost of a smile on her lips. Her name was Kayla, she said, a freelance logistics coordinator. She began to visit, not for repairs, but for conversation. She would appear in his bay, sometimes in the simple flight suit, sometimes in finer, but understated clothes, always alone. She asked about his work, about the principles behind his fixes. In return, she offered insights that were dizzyingly profound, reducing complex astrophysical concepts to the simplicity of a gear train. Once, he found her staring at a crude wall map of the local spiral arm. The stellar empires marked in faded colors, the Terran Commonwealth in blue, the glittering mercantile hegemony in gold, the vast, mysterious celestial imperium in silver. "Do you think true peace is possible?" she asked, her voice distant. Leo joined her, wiping grease from the spanner. "Between empires? Doubt it. Too many moving parts, too much pride. But between people? In a place like this, you see it every day. Different species, different backgrounds, all just trying to get their ship to fly. They help each other. Maybe that's the only peace that matters." She looked at him then, a long, searching look that seemed to weigh his very soul. A bottom-up peace, an emergent property of countless individual acts of repair. She nodded, as if filing the thought away. Weeks turned into a month. Leo found himself anticipating her visits. He fixed a jammed stabilizer on her personal shuttle, a sleek, fast craft that was, like her terminal, more than it seemed. He offered her a mug of real Terran coffee, a precious luxury. She accepted it with a gratitude that felt royal. Then, the trouble came. A local syndicate, the Grimm's Boys, decided Leo's Bay was prime territory. Their leader, a hulking brute with grafted cybernetics, came to deliver the protection offer. It was a shakedown. Leo refused, his calm gray eyes unwavering. The threat was violent, explicit. Kayla was there, in the shadows of the bay, watching. She said nothing. The next day, when the Grimm's Boys returned to make an example of Leo, they found their cybernetics mysteriously disabled. Weapons jammed. Strength-enhancing actuators locked. Communication nodes broadcasting their private crimes to the Port Authority. They fled in confused, humiliated terror, colliding with each other like puppets with cut strings. Leo stood amid the chaos, his spanner still in hand, unused. He looked at Kayla, who stood serenely by his workbench. "Logistics coordinator?" he asked softly. Her violet eyes met his. "Among other things." The truth arrived not with a grand announcement, but with a silent, impossible shift in the sky. The following dawn, the greasy rain stopped. The clouds over Hive Primus parted, not naturally, but in a perfect geometric spiral. Through the opening descended a ship. It was not a ship of war, but a vessel of such majestic, serene beauty that it made the heart ache. It was pearl white and flowing, like a frozen tear, and it radiated a soft light that gentled the harsh lines of the port. It was the luminous Arbiter, the personal flagship of the Empress of the Celestial Imperium. The entire port froze. The Imperium was the oldest, most powerful, and most reclusive of the galactic powers. Its Empress was a figure of myth, rarely seen, never approached. The ship landed in the main port square, a silent violation of 1,000 protocols that no one dared to enforce. A ramp of light extended, and from the ship, a phalanx of tall, elegant guards in silver armor emerged, followed by dignitaries in robes of starlight. They marched through the silent, stunned streets, directly to the rust-streaked repair bay. Leo watched from his doorway, his heart a slow, heavy drum in his chest. Kayla stepped out from behind him. She did not change, but everything else did. The grease-stained flight suit seemed to melt away, not in reality, but in perception, replaced by an aura of absolute, unassailable authority. Her posture straightened into a geometry of command. The gentle, curious woman was still there in her violet eyes, but now she was a mountain, a sun, a fixed point in the universe. The procession stopped before her. The entire assembly, guards and courtiers alike, sank to one knee in perfect unison, bowing their heads. The lead courtier, a man with ancient, kind eyes, spoke, his voice trembling with devotion. "Your serene radiance. The Imperium rejoices at your safe return. The conclave of stars has been suspended awaiting your word." Kayla the Empress gave a small, accepting nod. Then she turned to Leo. The galaxy held its breath. She looked at the man in the stained work tunic, his hands still holding the ghost of a spanner. The calm gray eyes were wide now, filled with the shock of a shattered reality. "You asked me once if peace was possible," she said, and her voice was still Kayla's, but it now carried to the edges of the silent square. "You said it was built from the small axe, from helping a stranger with a broken tool, from offering coffee, from fixing the harmonics of an old engine." She took a step toward him. The might of the galaxy knelt at her back, but her focus was entirely on the repairman. "You helped me. You asked for nothing. You saw a problem and you solved it with kindness and skill. You gave me a place where I was not a ruler, but a person. That is a gift no treasury in the universe contains." She reached out and took his greasy hand in her own. The courtiers gasped, a sound like a breeze through jewels. "The peace I seek will be built on such principles. And I need an engineer who understands that the most complex systems are built one connection, one honest repair at a time." Leo looked from their joined hands to her face. He saw his friend Kayla in the eyes of the Empress. He saw the truth. He did not kneel. Instead, he gave her hand a gentle, firm squeeze, a mechanic's gesture of solidarity. "The engine still needs that polymer platinum seal," he said, his voice rough but steady. "Your radiance." For the first time in the sight of her court, the Empress of the Celestial Imperium, the ruler of 1,000,000 stars, richer than any queen who had ever lived, laughed a true, unguarded laugh. It was a sound of